A fourth common element in both movies is the actor, Graham Greene. I have always appreciated his acting. The role I'm most familiar with is as Leonard, a traditional healer and shaman on the TV series Northern Exposure. What I saw in his portrayal of Walter Crowhorse in Thunderheart and Mogi in Skins is just how wonderfully versatile he is as an actor. The theme of Vietnam vet comes through in both movies. However, the outcome of the war service is portrayed very differently in the two movies. In Thunderheart, Walter Crowhorse is a good guy, almost romantically so. Though he clearly is deep, he also seems to be fairly at peace with himself and his experiences at Indian boarding school and in the war. As the movie progressed, I came to like and empathize with him and his role in helping to build the relationship between the wise old medicine man and Ray to further Ray's learning. It is through Ray's learning that the story comes to a head and he and Ray become friends and allies. He also has a dry wit about him, like when he jokes by calling the FBI the Federal Bureau of Intimidation and the Federal Bureau of Interpretation. As Mogi, on the other hand, Greene plays a role that is very different from Leonard or Walter. Those roles both had a sense of honor and pride about them. They are hopeful characters. In Skins, however, Graham very skillfully and convincingly plays an unlikable character. He was a pretty good guy in his youth, but something in Vietnam changed him. Mogi is always drunk, often disrespectful, and clearly is a lost soul, as shown, for example, in the scene where he mouths off to a network television reporter, on camera. One of his most poignant scenes is where he's falling down drunk when his son comes to visit. Another is where he, his son and wife, and Rudy are sitting at the dinner table. We can hear his rage.
He was nothing but a damn massacre of women and children.
Herbie scored 21 points in the last game.
I don't give a rat's ass, Mogi. Sorry, son.
I think Graham Greene is a credit to acting in general, and even more so, a credit to acting as a Native American. Finally, a fifth common element is how the movies close. While both movies close well, both also leave us hanging as to what will happen next for the protagonists. Ray of Thunderheart no longer has a job with the FBI. What road or direction will he take? Will he continue to learn about his heritage, or will he look for some new line of work elsewhere? What will happen to Rudy? Will anyone find out that he's the one who threw paint on Washington's face on Mount Rushmore? Will they find out about his other crimes? If so, what will happen to him? Or will this be the end of that chapter of anger and anguish in his life, and his opportunity to move on and make peace within himself? Which movie did I like better? Both movies have dark aspects, but Skins was definitely darker and harder to watch. It made me tired and anxious inside. Both brothers, Rudy and Mogi, reflect on their people's history, and I could feel the anger that they have when they look back at what happened over a century ago. I found that even though the action and intensity of the shoot-'em-up and car chase scenes of Thunderheart were quite violent, it somehow was an easier and less intense movie to watch. Perhaps this is because it is a Hollywood movie, and thus a more familiar experience for me. These two movies are important because they help all of us to have a greater awareness of the travesties and violations of Native people in the past and present, and the continuing social issues of today as a result. As a counterpoint to Skins and Thunderheart, in preparation for making this digital essay, I watched 21-minute interviews with Lakota people. It was part of a National Geographic project on life on Pine Ridge today. In spite of everything the people have been through, many of the 20 short interviews hold a hopeful message and a positive view of Lakota history. So in closing, here is one of the interviews.
That picture there is at Fort Robinson. It's where Crazy Horse was killed. And when Crazy Horse was killed, it ended for our people. There was no more free Roman people. And what we do is we lead a horse from Fort Robinson all the way to the end of the ride as a spirit horse for Tunkashila Tashunka, we call. That's grandfather crazy horse. Doing that has changed the whole dimension of the ride when we added the spirit horse. The ride became real deepened in the spirituality more than it was in the previous 10 years. Crazy Horse was the greatest warrior to ride the plains. He never surrendered, and he wishes that for the Lakota youth to remember what he stood for. And whenever you see the Black Hills, to remember what he stood for, the Lakota way of life.